This is Russell Dobular sitting in for Jimmy Dore, who will be in Denver on May 11th. Go to jimmydore.com for tickets. Off to my right. These are powers he has gained since giving up the sticky icky. And I am joined by my compatriot, Mr. Keaton Weiss. How are you doing today, Keaton?
Good. How's it going?
Pretty good. And we have a very special guest. Ryan Long is a New York City-based comedian, filmmaker, and podcaster whose videos have amassed more than 1 billion views.
No.
More than 1 billion.
No, he's got more views than I do. Get the fuck out of here.
Does he have more views? Is that more than you?
Yes.
You don't have 1 billion?
How many do you have?
You gotta have 1 billion. Jimmy, here's the thing. You can include TikTok views. This is
you're including TikTok.
I
mean,
so he's like the McDonald's, you're the Wendy's.
Oh, so if I included Rumble, I guess I'd be 1 billion. Okay, all right, so we're above 1 billion.
There you go.
Yeah, you're way above 1 billion. You include every view. I mean, if you walk by someone on the street, that's a view.
He is currently the host of the iTunes charting comedy podcast, The Boys Cast, with Ryan Long, and releases a new comedy sketch every Monday morning. Ryan has released 3 wildly popular stand-up specials, headlined sold-out clubs all over the world, and has appeared on MTV, Netflix, JFL, NBC, and The Joe Rogan Experience, among many others. Ryan, welcome.
And now the Jimmy Dore Show. Let's go.
All right, so this is a question I would love to ask of a Canadian who doesn't have the woke mind virus. All right, so a lot of us down here are looking at Canada and seeing the very Aldous Huxley Brave New World liberal version of dystopia. We're seeing euthanasia legalized, which is very dystopian sci-fi.
Is it true Tim Horton supports it?
The way that they debanked the truckers rally. So would you say that's exaggerated, the way they've gone after Jordan Peterson's medical license? But, you know, I see people who do videos about New York as if, they're ravening zombies running down the street.
I did see that.
And I say, well, that's a very selective vision of New York and very distorted. So are we getting a distorted vision from?
Yeah, like kind of half and half. You are right. You know what I mean? Where people, I was kind of joking the other day that like when you say, if you complain about New York, 5 guys will like sense it, wake up, and be like, "You voted for it." You know what I mean? They just they're sleeping and they just sense that someone was complaining about New York. But yeah, Canada's a little bit like that. But the thing about the thing that's going on now is, it is crazy, but also like almost unanimously, people don't like Trudeau. Like even people that were kind of like, oh, he likes weed and he's so good looking. Now they're like, what are you doing there, bud? Like everyone has turned on him. It's sort of like, you gotta think of like a place like Canada. It's like 35 million or something like that. Like imagine this, think about in comedy, the smaller the scene is, the more that they're, kind of get controlled by extremists. Like Seattle and Portland are going to be more wild than New York. You know what I mean? So the smaller the place, the more that they're wild. And then also America, people are like big on rhetoric. So the politicians say the craziest stuff and then other countries listen to it, but they're actually doing it. Like Americans kind of just say all this stuff, but they don't actually do most of it. Right. And then Canada's like, yeah, that does sound like a good idea, but then they do it all.
Right.
So there's a bit of that going, but they're also, it might go the other way to some degree because there's no term limit. So he's been there for like 10 years. And he has 2 more, so he's going to be extra crazy now. Like right now, he's on pure the Oprah diet. Like everyone gets whatever they want. He's just every day. He's like, girls get free lunches. Like it's just what do you want? Trans people, they all get a free purse. I don't know.
But nobody gets free speech, right?
No, they don't get you don't get free speech, but you get free anything else. you get free dick enlargement.
So that's not a bad deal. I mean, when you think about it.
Yeah, exactly. But after he's done, people might go the other way.
And if you still can't get a girlfriend, you can kill yourself free of charge.
The liberals might lose for another 15 years because of him.
Or you can move down to the United States where now you'll have a huge dick and free speech. Now you got a mate, right? Well, now you get the best of both worlds. Just depends on the immigration policy, really.
They had that recently, one of the big, because it's the free healthcare, right? So then they're always having this debate of like what gets included, which is kind of the stuff you guys are talking about before. But so one person wanted to get like trans surgeries. They like kind of agreed you can get them. It's included, but you can't get reverse. I think you can get one. It's like a one.
We have the same thing down here. Same thing.
Yeah, but the person kind of wanted to get their dick cut off, but they wanted to keep their vagina. So that like has to go to like the courts to decide like if you're cutting off the hog, can you keep the vat? Or no, the other. Yeah. If you're cutting off, they're cutting off the. So they usually make the dick into a vagina, but they want to keep their vagina and get a dick. So like these people actually have to have these.
I didn't even know that.
By the way, they won. By the way, they won. So they won this that the government has to.
A turducken.
So you great though.
So basically, you can get a hermaphrodite surgery.
But it does kind of seem like the natural implication of that is you're like, hey, if I can keep the vag. If I can keep the dick and the vag, actually, I'm screwing it up. I can't even remember what it was, but they wanted both, whatever it was.
So that's for people who want to go fuck themselves, right? So
you wanted a vag.
Exactly. You can get laid whenever you want if you got both.
Will they pay for tits and a goat head to go with that?
Now, all right. I want to play a couple of.
But seriously, though, there was a comedian who got in trouble because he got heckled, and the heckler was a lesbian, and he said something mean to her, and so he had to pay her like $10,000. Am I right?
That was a pretty good Canadian accent. You're doing the East Coast. This was West Coast, which is more like, buddy's getting heckled, by this friggin' lesbian. That's more.
So I wanted to.
It happened a few times. That guy's funny because that guy was like poor, but the other guy, Mike Ward, he's got money, and it was probably like, to some degree, arguably good for him. But that guy was like a dude that just didn't have money, and they're like, yeah, you have to call. It's like $30,000 for calling this chick a lesbian, and it's like just a crazy precedent.
How do people? I thought Canada was better than the United States, and then I read that story and I was like,
Toronto's sick.
They're worse. And I'm going to Canada. I'm going to be in Vancouver, and then I'll be in Edmonton. And so if I get heckled by a lesbian, I can't say anything.
I mean, I think it was someone was saying this about like UK. He was kind of saying that one of the reasons why this is so corrupt is the truth is they probably would never do it to someone like you because they would know it would be, they would lose so much support. So it's kind of rules that they make that only really affect people that can't help themselves, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like if I go back to Canada and they want to charge me with one of my jokes, like, please, I hope you do. Like I'm going to Australia and they have that stuff. It was like, I hope you charge me for one of my jokes. That'd be hilarious.
Go ahead.
Well, they have that in the UK now. You have it in Scotland where you can get in trouble for misgendering.
But they'll come for normal people. They're not going to come for Jimmy Dore.
And so all this about the new hate laws in Scotland, I think it's all about control, right? So if they want to silence you, they just say, hey, you said something hateful. Didn't it just happen when Tucker Carlson went to Canada, And somebody high in the government was saying that he was inciting violence with his words, right? And so they should censor him. Did you follow that story?
Yeah, definitely. It was quite the hoopla when they went there. I'm not like when Tucker Carlson going there was quite a hoopla. It was like Milo Yiannopoulos going to college campuses in 2016.
and so tell me what was that? Could you recap that for us?
I mean, I'm not that tapped in. Like if I found out there was like a bomb that dropped in Toronto, I'd be like, okay. They just go, what happened? I go, nothing. Jets won. Nothing much in the news.
Okay.
I'm not that tapped in, but the funny part, I don't know if you guys have covered this. I feel like it's up your alley, but you can't watch news on your phones because essentially Justin Trudeau basically like he sort of started a fight with all the tech companies. He was like, if you don't kind of do what we want you to do, you're not allowed to show news on our apps. And then all the tech companies were like, okay. So if you and it was supposed to help all the news companies like in this way, but basically all it made is if you run a news company, like it screwed over your entire way of like discovery. So right now, if you're on a phone and you look up like CNN or like a Canadian news, the Star or the Sun, you can't see it on your phone. So you can't watch news on Instagram and Facebook. So it's like,
what about on your home computer?
What?
Can you see it on your home computer?
No, I'm not on the internet. No, I mean, you can go to probably the website, but like on the social media apps. But if you're looking at the apps on the, it's literally, a friend of yours gets jumped and then you're kind of like, okay, you know what? I'm going to go solve this. And you come back and you go, okay, took more of your money. That's like all of his solutions are. He goes, I'm going to solve this problem. And just it makes it 1,000 times worse. So it's hilarious.
And so Trudeau thought that by banning streaming news on social media, that would help the news companies.
He basically was saying the news companies have to pay the people. Like he was kind of saying like, hey, we think that you have to pay the companies. It was essentially a way to kind of like strong arm social media companies into giving money to like, essentially further subsidize the Canadian news industry.
News?
Yeah, like Obama.
Oh my God.
Wow.
At least in America, they're a little more, they're tricky when they censor you a little more. Like I thought that one was recently. They're just like, hey, we're trying to make Facebook less political. So we're going to, take all of the political news out of Discovery and anything that has all these keywords. But you're just like, okay, so you basically made it impossible for any new candidate to grow. You know what I mean? Like those things are all
great uses for that.
Right.
A lot of great uses for that one. They like to put them in the bills too. Like recently, you know what I mean? They're just like, hey, we're doing a bill about like TikTok, and also it happens we're going to give a bunch of money to Israel, Ukraine, and also Gaza, and then also on top of that, we're allowed to spy on human citizens. You're like, what does this have to do with TikTok? You're like, it's a joint package.
I mean, so the people in Canada, are they just as upset with their news media as people in the States? Because I was just in Europe and they hate their news media there too. And what's the skinny on that?
You know that? Okay, you know how we were just talking. You were saying sometimes people get it wrong about New York in that, like you would think based on the news, it's just like 100% like a non-binary clown walking around nonstop, right? But then it's actually like a guy, mostly like 40-year-old guys wearing like rap gear, kind of asking you what they're looking at. You know what I mean? Like more is that a little bit. I feel like things are more serious here, where like kind of in Australia, like there is crazier stuff, but everyone's just like, yeah, that guy's a clown. Like everyone just thinks Trudeau's a clown. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's
whereas
like
here we see it as existential.
Yeah.
He's
so
the
I think there
is of Canada. I think of him.
All right. So speaking of media,
people are getting hyped up though. People are getting a little. We had a video that was like really funny where, so this was like 2 years ago when it was like vaccine stuff and all that. People, if you went to someone's if you like talked bad about the government, you've probably seen this in London too. If you talk bad about the government, they'll show up at your house and kind of give you a talking to.
Yeah.
And
that happens in Canada?
It happens a lot. It happens in like London. They always have it. You know what I mean? And there's a lot of videos going viral where it's like some 7-year-old kid that said the wrong thing and they're trying to, give her a talking to, and she's like autistic. So she's having like a breakdown and the cops are, so it happens like a lot. But the reason it's funny is because sometimes the guys will film the cops being like, well, I'm allowed to post whatever I want, but if Trudeau's going to keep being a clown, I'm going to keep calling it out. And the guy goes, well, then get used to seeing me because I'm going to have to keep coming over. He's like, well, I guess I'll make a cup of coffee and you should get to know the missus because we're going to be seeing a lot of each other because I'm not about to stop talking bad about Trudeau. And,
really?
Like Hans Landa having comes over.
I've seen this in London. They had a woman literally took a picture of a sticker and they came to her house. They caught it on closed circuit that she had taken a picture of a sticker that I think said something like "women are women," and they literally ran this woman down and came to her house about it.
Well, I'm going to say some serious shit about Trudeau when I'm in Canada, and I mean, and I hope it ruffles some feathers. I hope someone comes to my hotel from the Canada Police. That'd be great. Hey, what's all this about?
Mr. Dore, this is just unacceptable behavior there, eh? No, the coming to the door is so funny. It's just some old woman, like, that's just like posting Republican kind of memes on Facebook, and they're just getting a talking to.
Hey, come see us do a live show. We're going to be in Denver, Colorado, May 11th, Los Angeles, California, doing a live panel show with a celebrity panel and video, Ashland, Virginia, Athens, Georgia, Rutherford, New Jersey, with Max Blumenthal, Minneapolis, Minnesota, Ontario, California, Irvine, California, Chicago, Illinois, with another celebrity panel, live video show in Chicago, and Grand Rapids, Michigan. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets. jimmydore.com for a link for tickets.